exist by using science. So I just naturally want to assume, why would I try to use science to prove that God does exist? There's no faith in that statement. That's why he's saying it. I can prove these glasses are sitting on the table. Where's the faith in that if I can prove it? So faith to me is not believing that which nobody can see. Faith is trusting the relationship that God has established with me and believing that what he tells me is true. So, Margaret, what do you think?
It keeps going through my mind. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. He who has eyes to see, let him see.
Yeah.
And then you have to leave other people up to it.
Convincing, debating. Well, I don't know. I've certainly tried.
These people found a miracle that carried them. Other people would reason them away.
Yeah, they would reason that away. Sure, well now we see the blade got stuck, that's why it caused. Where's the miracle in that? When you believe that God's at work, try to get somebody to tell you he wasn't. Could anybody convince you God wasn't in that artist? No, they can explain maybe why the tire didn't explode, but tell me that God wasn't in that. Right? I got called back to my father once. It was a long time ago. And they said, you need to come back. We've tried all the antibiotics. Nothing's touching his infection. The doctor said, you better get back here immediately. He's not going to make it another day. And so I moved from Texas and got back here to Huntington Beach where he's in the hospital. And he was out of it. Couldn't recognize anyone. In a coma. And when he went in was a bursitis shot in his shoulder. And the doctor says, is your other shoulder sore too? And he goes, yeah, kind of. So he stuck the needle in the other shoulder. Got an infection in the shoulder. And of course the blood supply and the bone not so good, and they couldn't find it. So, back in the days before malpractice suits, I guess. But in any case, we knew what caused it. The doctor was right up front saying I made a mistake. But that was irrelevant. The relevant part was my dad's dying. And so we basically said our goodbyes. And the pastor of their congregation, their church was there. And we had a service and said goodbye. In the meantime, we didn't know, but evidently the doctor had been, this pre-online days, making phone calls and talked to somebody and said, why don't you try this? And so he tried that, and my dad didn't die. A day or two later, he opened his eyes, lived for another 40 years. So, and I would say that was the miracle. But here's another miracle. So that happened when I was in my first call in Texas. So I was probably 26 years old. When I was in Tucson, so now I'm in my early 40s, I had a book on my table I was reading, and it was written by a physician on near-death experiences in children, pediatrician. And children that he had treated and the like, some of who had religious backgrounds, some who didn't, and the things that they described after being declared clinically dead or close to it, these kind of things. So my mom looks at it and goes, what kind of book are you reading? And I go, well, it's about this doctor who these kids describe what life after death is like. Some of that German would come out of her. And my dad says, well, I believe that. Well, my dad, he went to church with my mom, but he never said anything. And we looked at him, and my mother was just shocked. She almost broke her neck. It went so fast. What do you mean, she said. She goes, oh yeah, it happened to me. It happened to you? Yeah, when I had that thing with my shoulder. I watched everybody work over me. I saw you all there. He said, no, where I went was so peaceful. He said, I'll never be afraid of dying. Never said a word. Why did you say anything? He goes, well, I don't know. Well, that's my dad. Yeah, well,
You didn't ask.
didn't ask. Never came up. Isn't that something? So for him, I'm going, well, that's a miracle for me. Because anybody who knew my dad, that's not who he is. And talking this stuff. No. He was a tough guy, meatpacking plant superintendent, ordering people around and pushing slabs of meat around. This was not a guy who talks about out-of-body experiences kind of thing. No, it was so matter of fact, he never mentioned it again. He never expanded on it. He just, no. I didn't think anybody believed it. And so, I don't know how you explain that, but when I watched my dad die, he was right. There was no fear. He never showed any fear. So it was gone. So how do miracles come to us? I'm getting, I had people tell me stories about angels. Angels had visited them. An angel had said to them, they were in intensive care, and the angel was dressed up as a nurse, wiping their forehead and said, oh, you're going to be fine tomorrow. Tomorrow will be you. You're okay. You'll be out of here in a couple of days. Just very reassuring. The next morning, she regains consciousness, evidently. Says, who is that nurse who was in here? There was no record of any nurse leaving. She is absolutely convinced. Now, am I going to say, because I can't explain it and they couldn't explain it, that this isn't revealing God? No, that was a God moment for her. How is God revealed to you? Because whether it's through reading the Bible and understanding it, let's say through science, that by somebody explaining creation or the flood or something to you in a way that you go, okay, I believe now in God, I would say that that's a miracle. And the miracle is not that they could explain it to you that way. Maybe that's a miracle too. The miracle is faith. I believe faith is a gift from God, and that by itself is a miracle. And anything that reveals God to you is miraculous in that way. That brings you to faith and understanding of God. So it's not just how do we get more supernatural things to happen, and how do we live with the faith that God gives us and live our lives trusting in that we're willing to take chances and risks to accomplish the things of God. All right? Any other questions, comments? Would you like me to lighten it up next time and make it easier? This is some stuff that's hard to say in a sermon because the variety of people that exists and not being able to give feedback is really hard. Sometimes I like to do it because I'm just ornery, I think. But sometimes, I don't like to put such challenges out there that kind of get people thinking in ways that causes them to have more doubts, and then thinking they shouldn't come to me with those doubts for fear that will make them look silly or stupid, or I will think that of them. That's a real fear that I have. People who have questions will be too afraid to ask them. So I kind of like the opportunity for the dialogue. So if you just say, Bill, I totally disagree, I'm okay with that. All right? This is where I'm at this point in my life. Yes, sir?
Do you have any validity in dreams?
Yes, absolutely. I don't have much experience with dreams, but I do believe that, the Bible talks about dreams a lot. And I think dreams and visions, the thing that I guess that I have is I have visions. And I guess I've grown comfortable with saying that now they're visions from God and not just ideas from God. And I found that primarily in my job, one of my main criteria of my job is to have a vision. That as a pastor, I think I need to have a vision of what God is calling not only me to do, but the congregation in which I serve to accomplish. So I believe in visions. I wish I had more dreams, but I do believe in dreams. I believe that there's definitely a way that God can work these things. I don't doubt those at all. I've known some people, because some of my intervention work puts me in the midst of therapists, and some of them have done a lot of dream work. Fascinating, fascinating. If I would dream more, I'd learn more about it. I'd really be interested. What is God trying to tell me? But I don't remember mine. The only one I remember is I'm back in college and I haven't gone to class all semester and the finals are there and I'm going to fail and what am I going to do? I'm running and panicking and no.
So what did that mean to you?
I don't know, but it's a recurring dream. If I have a dream, that's more than likely what it is. Here it is. I'm supposed to be doing something. It's not done yet. That's kind of how I live my life. So it's kind of,
Well, use the term vision and also dream. Are they different or the same?
I guess for
What do
me
you
it's a
think?
little different because my visions, the visions that God gives me seem to be people or things that come together that kind of happen for me. They're not just one thing. It's not like I wake up and have it. It's a cumulative thing over time through a result of a variety of readings I do, people I've had conversations with, things that I hear and see, and all of a sudden, I kind of have it. But I had this idea for E-100 for a year and a half before I did it, because I didn't have